Oh, here we go. Okay. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the December meeting of the Citrus Heights City Council. Would you all please rise and join me in the flag salute? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. May we have the roll call?
Councilmember Daniels is absent. Councilmember Middleton.
Present.
Councilmember Miller.
Present.
Vice Mayor Sloey.
Present.
And Mayor Bruins.
Present.
Tonight's meeting of the Citrus Heights City Council is cablecast live on Metro Cable 14, the local government affairs channel, on the Comcast Consolidated Communications and AT&T U-verse cable systems. This meeting is closed caption and webcast at citrusheights.net. Tonight's meeting replays on Monday, December 16th at 9 a.m. on Channel 14, and a DVD copy is available for checkout from any library branch.
Thank you. The next item is the approval of the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda?
Yeah, I'd like to ask that, I think it's item 17 for the mosquito board be moved up to right after public comment.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Is fine with me? Anybody else? Okay.
Move the amended agenda.
Okay.
Second.
We have a second? We have a motion and a second to move one item on the agenda and to approve it as amended. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. It carries. Next item.
Next item is special item number 4, selection of mayor and vice mayor.
Okay, thank you. So for those of you in the public, every December, this is the meeting where we pass the gavel and we elect one of us to be the mayor for a year and one of us to be the vice mayor for a year. So before we go forward with that, I would just like to thank everyone who has made this a really memorable year for me as your mayor. This is my fourth turn over the years as mayor, and I think it was probably the busiest one that I've had. I'd especially like to thank our city manager, Chris Boyd, who's worked very closely with me this year, and we've flown from coast to coast to take care of Citrus Heights business, and we've accomplished, I think, some really good things this year. We've taken on the project of Sunrise Mall, and that's going to be unfolding over the next couple of years. We've amended our general plan to address the mall specifically and created a specific planning area, hired a consultant, working as a team with the mall owners to breathe new life into the mall over years to come. We've also purchased the property of the Sylvan School, and you'll see that as an item tonight that we act on. And there have been other things as well. We've survived splitting the city into 5 districts. We've been mandated to do that. So it's going to be a surprise, I think, for a lot of people when they get their ballots in November to realize that they may or may not have a city council member to vote for. So that will be playing out for the first time in our elections next year. Want to welcome our newest council member, Porsha Middleton, who's done a stellar job her first year on the council, and thank the council members for all the support I've gotten, and our new city manager. City attorney, Ryan Mayer, sorry, sorry, Chris. No heartburn on that one. You are the city manager. Anyway, it's been a delightful year, but I'm ready to pass it on to the next person. So with that, I would like to nominate Jeff Sloey to be mayor for 2020. Do I have a second?
Second.
Oh, third.
We have a motion and a second to elect Jeff Sloey as mayor for 2020. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Carries. And I'd also like to elect Steve Miller to act as vice mayor during 2020. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to elect Steve Miller as vice mayor for 2020. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. It carries.
Yes.
With that, I will pass the gavel over to Jeff, and he will officiate the rest of the meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So yeah, having done this before, I can speak for Jeannie that there's 2 happy days when you're mayor. First, when you get the job, but it's a real short day. But the bigger happy day is when you get to pass it on. So she's already told me any emails that came in today I have to address. Typically, you would be mayor up until you pass the baton, but somehow she's skirting that a little early today, so not sure how that works out. Jeannie, you've done a great job. Just so the audience knows, we actually scheduled the first meeting in January, and we, get to say a few words about Jeannie and give her a little plaque and all that stuff. So rather than take the time tonight, because it's not on the agenda, we're going to save that for January, where we all get a chance to thank her and praise her for what she did. So don't want anybody to think that we don't appreciate it, but that's just how we've done it over the years. So, all right, the next item, the clerk will proceed.
Next item is presentations, and there are none. The next item is comments by council members and regional board updates.
Okay. So Jeannie, you haven't had to go first for a whole year.
I know.
So now I'm going to call on you first to give us a update on boards.
Okay. So real quickly, about 3 weeks ago, along with city manager and chief of police and some of our other staff members, we attended an award luncheon where our Porsha Middleton was honored by the Sacramento chapter of the National Coalition of 100 Black Women in Politics and Government. So it was very exciting to see her be honored, and we were very happy to be there. I've covered for Jeff at the SACOG transportation meeting when he was out on other city business this last week. Probably one of the most significant things that we had a discussion on, there was no vote on it, but there was a lot of lively discussion on paratransit versus RT providing services both for people with special needs and the elderly, as well as just regular public transit service. And that's going to unroll over the next several months, and there'll actually be a vote on that in February. Regional SAN met yesterday, and the meeting was very short, but I have taken up a position on an ad hoc committee where we're looking at staffing services, and that was actually a longer meeting, combining the two districts. These are all theoretical topics at this point. No decisions will be made on this for quite a while, if at all. Right now, we're served by Sacramento Area Sewer District and Regional Sanitation, which together provide sanitation services from our house all the way down to the treatment plant. So the thought of maybe combining those two together. And then we have an interagency agreement, which some of the cities like Sacramento and Folsom, part of the city, they have their own local sewer systems, and then they connect to the big one. And so those are things that we're looking at on a master plan basis. And then I'd like to announce that our Police Activities League, our PAL board, is putting on a roller skating party for kids on the 30th of December. So go on the PAL website, get information on that. And if you have a child who is not a member of PAL, it's a great opportunity to join. I think it's $5 for an entire year of activities. And so we look forward to that as well over the holidays. And that's it.
Thank you, Jeannie. Porsha?
So a busy time. Let's see, we started out with the teddy bear luncheon this morning, which was a lot of fun, and there were tons and tons of teddy bears there. And they're given out to the local police department and to our fire department to hand out to young kids. And there's just the variety of teddy bears that they collected over the year. It's just astounding. Also, earlier in the late November, I spoke at Sue Frost's quarterly meeting. We talked about the Sunrise Marketplace and the Sunrise Mall and just development in general within the city. It was a very robust meeting. Lots of questions were asked and a lot of community input, and it was a really great time. And I also went to the STA, the Sacramento Transportation Authority meeting today, and we went over the initial draft of the Transportation Expenditure Plan Development. And we'll have more details next month. I filled in for Councilmember Miller.
Thank you for that.
Absolutely. I'm hoping that you'll be at the next one, so because you have a better understanding of what's going on, and you'll be able to direct that a little bit more.
Oh, you've been there. You've got the experience.
2 meetings I've been to. And that's it.
Thank you, Porsha. Vice Mayor Miller?
Yeah, real quick. Attended the regional transit meeting on Monday night. We approved the Causeway Connection, which is an electric bus service that will replace UC Davis used to have a coach bus that would go between the college and UC Med Center for their employees and their students and their interns and all that. And it will now be taken over as public transit, so riders can ride. There's stops being added in Sacramento as well as the Park and Ride in Davis. And it'll be now, it's, I think, a 3-year pilot project, but it's the first use of electric buses in the area, and we'll see how this works. And I think there's a theme here, because I was also selected as vice chair for the Regional Transit Board for the coming year. And with that, I turn it back over to you, Mayor.
Thanks, Steve. So I would be remiss if I didn't start off by thanking Jeannie for covering for me last week at SACOG. I was actually down in Napa for 3 days with the League of California Cities, and we were mapping out the 2020 strategic priorities. And since the League of California Cities actually lobbies on behalf of not just Citrus Heights, but all the cities in the state, I did want to read you the 5 priorities we came up with. Typically 3 is where you want to go, sometimes 4. We came up with 5 this year just because they're all important. And there was a lot of back and forth whether homelessness and affordable housing should be separate or together. We determined they needed to be separate. So if you'll indulge me for just a minute, I'm going to read what the 5 priorities are that the League and we will be lobbying the state throughout the year. So, and these are not in particular order. Improve the supply of affordability of housing, provide cities with financial tools to increase construction of housing, particularly for vulnerable populations, reform state regulatory barriers, and ensure cities retain flexibility based on size, geography, demographics, impact mitigation, and land use needs of each community. The next one, advocate for increased funding and resources to prevent homelessness and assist individuals experiencing homelessness. Secure additional resources and flexibility to provide navigational assistance, emergency shelters, and permanent supportive housing, and strengthen partnerships with stakeholders to ensure mental health, substance abuse treatment, and wraparound services are available for adults and youth at risk or already experiencing homelessness. Address fiscal sustainability, raise awareness among stakeholders about the fiscal challenges cities face, and work collaboratively to secure new revenue tools and flexible, prudent policies to ensure cities are able to provide essential services to their residents while maintaining their ability to meet pension obligations. 2 more. Strengthen community and disaster preparedness, public safety and resiliency. Improve community resiliency to disasters and environmental threats, and strengthen infrastructure stability and control through expanding partnerships, including state and federal agencies, and securing additional resources and support for climate change adaptation, planning preparedness, response, recovery, and sustainability in our cities. And the last one, address public safety concern for all California cities. Reform recently enacted criminal justice laws enacted by both statute and initiative that have eroded public safety protections of California residents through the passage of the police chief's / grocers sponsored criminal justice reform measure eligible for the 2020 state ballot, or by equivalent reforms achieved through legislative action. Protect public safety by reducing access to firearms by the mentally ill. Support additional tools and resources to establish critical community challenges such as homelessness, mental health, domestic violence, drug rehabilitation, human trafficking, and workforce development for ex-offender reentry. A lot of back and forth on that. Should we include climate change? Not. Should we include public safety? Personally, I'm a firm believer that public safety should be on the list every single year, along with fiscal accountability. But as you can see, we came up with 5. In the history of the League, we've never gone above 4, but everybody on the board was in agreement that these were important to make sure we stayed abreast of through the coming legislative year. I did attend the grand opening yesterday of a new playground at Rush Park. For any of you who've been there, around the covered picnic table area. For 27 years, there's been a 2 separate large play areas made out of metal. Obviously, they're a little dated and not up to ADA standards today. So with the help of a grant from the Republic Foundation, i.e. your local sanitation company, some CDBG funding the city put forward, as well as park impact fees. There's a beautiful new play structure. They actually brought out kids from a couple of classes in Rush Park, and even though it was slightly raining, the kids had a great time playing on them. So if you're there, even as an adult, feel free to play on them. They're actually can accommodate people like us instead of just youth. So good experience. I did attend the library board today. Drove all the way downtown and spent 6 minutes in the meeting. That was as long as it took. Not an effective use of gas, but it was all administrative. But because it's coming up on the end of the year, they felt they still needed to have the meeting. So it was a nice drive down and back with a 6-minute interruption. So nothing to report out of that.
We all went to the Christmas tree lighting.
Yes, and I did miss the Christmas tree lighting, so I can't tell you how that was, because again, I was down in Napa, but I take it you all were there, and it was a good time, and cookies and cocoa were had by all? Okay.
Great turnout. It
was a good turnout, yeah.
wasn't cold and it wasn't raining.
Good.
Best of two worlds.
All right, so there's nothing coming up between now and the first that anybody can think of, right? The only other thing is, some of us did attend the Sunrise Marketplace PBID opening last night. PBID, Public Improvement Business District, which is where owners of businesses all up and down Sunrise and a little bit on Greenback, et cetera, vote, and they actually tax themselves based on the size of the parcel. That money was what installed the Sunrise Marketplace banners in the middle of Sunrise and Greenback. It's also what they used to put on concerts to promote those venues. Marketing, other things. And there's actually some other businesses that are just outside the current zone who have approached them to come into it. So they are working to kick that off again. Because it's private property, they have to go through a process, send out ballots, the property owners vote. And if they get a majority, then the property owners are essentially okayed to tax themselves to put this money. It helped with, for those of you who remember, the tennis and the concert venue that was there. That money came from there as well. So, all right, with that, that covers the updates. So next item, Amy.
Next item is public comment, and members of the audience may address the council on any item of interest to the public and within the council's purview, or on any agenda item before or during the council's consideration of the item. If you wish to address the council during the meeting, fill out a speaker identification sheet and give it to myself. When you're called upon to speak, step forward to the podium and state your name for the record. Normally, speakers are limited to 5 minutes each, with 30 minutes being allowed for all comments, and any public comments beyond the initial 30 minutes may be heard at the conclusion of the agenda, and the mayor has the discretion to lengthen or shorten the allotted times.
Thank you, Amy. So I've got 6 cards. 3 of them are on particular agenda items, so I will hold those till we get to that agenda item. The other 3, in no particular order, we will start with Gus. Is it Shavesti? Am I even close on that?
Almost. Shaveste.
Shaveste. Okay. I don't do that accent goo very well with I can't roll my R's, so.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and council members. Obviously, I'm not Gus Shaveste. My name is Stephanie Nguyen. I'm the Executive Director of Asian Resources. And years ago, when I came before all of you, it looked a little different here, and the building was different. And I'm jealous because as a council member for the city of Elk Grove, my building is not as beautiful as this. And I do want to congratulate the city manager, because when I was here, he was the chief of police. And so it's nice to see him move into that seat. I am here just to introduce you to our new site director of our office. As you know, we have served your constituents here in the city of Citrus Heights for almost 20 years now, and we moved to a really beautiful building that is right next to Sunrise Mall. However, as you turn into by district now, I do want to let you know that we serve your constituents from all of your districts as well, too. As the only organization that serves not only your Slavic community and your Middle Eastern community as well, too, but we are also reaching out to the Latino community. Our staff speak, read, and write 14 different languages, and Gus here is tasked to being able to bring in more of the Latino community into our office. So really, we just wanted to come and say hello, wish you a happy holiday and a new year, and I wanted to give him the floor for just a couple of minutes to say hi to you.
Thank you, Stephanie. Welcome.
Hello. I just want to say it was nice meeting you. I look forward to working with all of you. You will recognize my face as well as you recognize Stephanie. And in good faith, we packed up some nice trays of cookies there, and hopefully you guys enjoy. And drink that with a little bit of milk, okay? Nice meeting you.
We look forward to the continued partnership and collaboration with all of you.
So quick question. I
Yes.
know where you were next to my cleaners for the last 30 years, Sylvan
Yes.
Cleaners. Where on Sunrise, what building did you move to?
We are right off of Sunrise and Kingswood
Okay.
Drive. So
5750 Sunrise Boulevard, Suite 100.
So there's two banks on the corner. Which
That's
one are you?
correct. It's
River
the-
City or the other one?
we are on the, is it California Bank?
Union Bank.
Union Bank.
So it was the big white building that got repurposed, and it's now
Okay.
a beautiful white building.
Great, good to know.
Nice.
Thank you.
Great, thank you.
And welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for all you do for our community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next we'll hear from Chuck Benward regarding our wonderful Sylvan Ranch Community Garden update. Well, actually, technically,
Hello, my name's Chuck Benward, and I represent the Sylvan Ranch Community Garden. Just wanted to give you an update on what we've done in the last year. Right now, we've got about 40 gardeners that are active out there. Most of our garden spots, if you've been by, you'll notice are raised beds now. We've had some donations and some good discounts on lumber and stuff, so we're trying to raise all our beds up to so they're all raised beds now. I don't like crawling on the ground, so a lot of other people appreciate that too. We have a food closet, growing area where we donate food to the food closet. It's the church down the street on San Juan. We donated over 500 pounds this year of tomatoes, squash, eggplants, cucumbers, okra, peppers, and anything else that some of the gardeners had access of that they wanted to donate. And they're always happy to see us come. Nice fresh food for their people there. Republic Services is going to be having a compost workshop. It's going to be the 14th of April next year, and they're going to host it at the garden.
Good.
Our annual fundraiser is a plant sale. We have a greenhouse there that we build ourselves. We start plants in February from seed, we grow them, and then come about the second weekend of April, we will make them available to the gardeners and the public. And that's our fundraiser. We made about $500 last year on that. Our new year starts, our fiscal year is from April 1st to March 31st, so come late February and early March, we'll be accepting new applications and renewal applications. Every member is on a year-to-year basis. And then we'll be reassigning plots or assigning new plots for the new members. Our community area, which is available to all gardeners, consists of strawberries, blueberries, peaches, plums, figs, pomegranates, raspberries, apples, cherries, figs, and so on and so forth. We have herbs, and we also have some areas that are strictly growing vegetables. We've got about 5 or 6 different spots where we grow vegetables. For people who growing something else in their garden, they'd like to have some fresh beans, but they don't want to grow them themselves. We have a lot of areas there. And a lot of that stuff is anything that's left over from the plant sale. We go ahead and replant those in the community areas. We had a donation this year. A lady was moving out of her apartment into the place, and she had 3 citrus trees and 2 peach trees that were dwarfs. She come over and says, can you guys use these? So we said, of course we can. So we've got, get those planted in the garden, so that was a nice donation to us. We had AmeriCorps out there twice this year. They do a wonderful job. They're hardworking, young adults, and they're always excited to come out and work in the garden. It's something that they really do enjoy. And of course, when they come out, we feed them lunch to make them happy. And then whatever food is left over from that, we tell them, you guys can take it home with you. And they go, really? So that helps them out too. And we appreciate their work. They do a lot of things for us. You have any questions?
I
ahead.
have one. What do you do about pest control? Critters? Do you have issues with,
We had issue with rats this year, yes.
and what, I have that issue in my yard too. And what do you do about that? Because they eat my entire garden.
One of our members says you mix honey and dichlorination, dichlorination earth that you use for pools, and they will go after that and dries them out.
I'm gonna call you because I need that recipe.
But we do have, we do use some commercial rat bait. We had some traps put out. We still have rats, but it's not as bad as it was. I had a second crop of corn. I went out there one day and they'd eat every kernel off every corn in there.
Yeah, it's very disheartening, yeah.
That was very disappointing because it was really growing good.
So one follow-up question, Chuck. If somebody wants to petition to join the garden, what's the annual membership?
It's $65 a year to be
For
a gardener.
A bit. Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for the
Thank you.
information, sir. And our last public speaker for now, until we get to the other items, will be Joanne Fuller.
Good evening, Council, Mayor, and Council, and Vice Mayor, and Council members. I'm Joanne Fuller. I live close enough to be jealous of the wonderful microtransit program you have going here in Citrus Heights that RT is running for you all. And we want some of that over where I am too, but you guys have a wonderful program there. I'm here to introduce SMART, that Sacramento metro area advocates for rail and transit. Let me try that again. Sacramento Metro Advocates for Rail and Transit. We've been working with the Sacramento Transportation Authority in looking and crafting this new sales tax measure that is being considered now for the county. SMART is a broad-based coalition of environmental, business, transportation, neighborhood, faith-based, and community groups, and we advocate for rail and transit in the Sacramento region and to educate opinion leaders and the public about the economic, environmental, land use, and societal benefits of high-performing connected transit system in Sacramento. As the Sacramento Transportation Authority is beginning, as Councilmember Middleton reported, is putting together their project list and goals for this new tax measure, SMART has been working with them, and we have some suggestions, some of which have already been accepted by the Sacramento Transportation Authority and are reflected in how they're going to go forward. But we have some suggestions for that, and with your I'm hoping that I can share those with you, perhaps working either with one of your representatives to the Sacramento Transportation Authority. So that would be telling you what this coalition thinks about what's going to be proposed before the Sacramento Transportation Authority and what considerations that we would like for you to consider too. So with your approval, I'll work with your representatives and get you that information.
That would be great. Our primary representative is the Vice Mayor, Steve Miller.
Yes, thank you,
Feel
yeah.
free to seek him out,
Okay, great, thanks a lot.
and thank you.
Go ahead and call the main number and ask for me now. I don't have an office here.
Okay.
For part-time, but they'll connect you with somebody that can schedule
Okay, good.
something.
And congratulations, you all. You have a wonderful microtransit system here. That's really the envy of all of us, so
And it's being,
congratulations.
it's being
yeah.
expanded as well as
yeah.
we speak.
Yeah, thank
Great.
you.
Thank you. So those were the three for the public comment. Again, I've got 5 more for item 13, 14, and 17, and I will take those up when we get there. So next item, please.
Next item, and we're taking number 17 now.
Yes.
So item number 17, the subject is appointment to the Sacramento Yellow Mosquito and Vector Control District Board. So the recommendation is to consider the appointment of Dr. Jana Karpinski-Costa for a term of either 2 or 4 years, or council may direct staff to re-advertise and accept additional applications for the appointment.
Great, Amy, thank you. So as it sounds like, this is the Sacramento Yellow Mosquito and Vector Board. We did put out notices for applications. We got one, the current member, the current person we've appointed there. I guess not too many people are all excited about mosquitoes or want to go spend 2 hours in a meeting learning about them, but Jana Karpinski-Costa does a great job. As a veterinarian, she always comes and informs us what's going on. So I will defer to the council as to.
And Mayor, I believe we do have a speaker sheet for this item.
Oh, you do? Sorry. That would be Dr. Jana Karpinski-Costa. Go figure.
And here I am. First of all, thank you for moving the item up, and congratulations on your coming years, Mayor. And Jeannie, you've done a great job. And I just want to say that I have been honored to be able to serve the city in the last 12 years that I've been on. I'm not the longest appointed person there. There's someone there for 40. I mean, there's somebody there for 35. So anyways, I would love to go another 4, and then we'll try to find somebody.
So you're going to make a run for the record?
You know, we're facing this invasive mosquito. You know, Citrus Heights, we were the first to get the first West Nile case in 2005, and here we are, the first in the whole district to get the Aedes aegypti mosquitoes. They actually started in Placer County. They alerted us, they caught one, and then we set our traps there at the border between Placer County and Citrus Heights, and yeah, we had quite a scare, but our district was right there. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Anything about the appointment, the service. See, we do meet once a month in Elk Grove, the third Tuesday at 10 a.m. And sometimes the meeting's 2 hours, and sometimes it's longer.
Is there like a lot of people show up besides the
Nobody.
board? Okay.
One time we had
Kinda figured that.
we had a public. We had one member, she comes with her husband from Ileton, and he was a clerk to Justice Rehnquist. So, I mean, that's how long they've been coming, but he's our public audience, generally, her husband. And one time, and sometimes the council member, what is he? He's, Cooley sends his guy.
Okay.
Assemblyman.
Chief of staff.
Assemblyman Cooley, there we go. I lost his title somewhere in there.
Right.
And then, once we had public, when we were going to spray, we didn't spray this year at all, except we do spray the rice fields, because they are our biggest source of
So-
mosquito breeding.
12 years and once you've had public?
Yeah, once.
Wow, okay.
It was quite a, we had to find chairs. I mean, it was big. One time we met at UC Davis, we had our meeting in the building over there, and we had somebody, the guy from Citrus Heights who had West Nile, he came to the meeting. And other than that, we have not had much public. But you're all welcome to come.
We'd rather wait for you to come.
Yeah.
Bring your people here to.
Well,
Us.
I'll be coming and let you know, we do encourage our manager to go at least once a year to discuss everything with all the various jurisdictions.
And
And so
He
he's
does.
been pretty good at doing that.
Comes every year.
Yep,
Thank
we
you for
force him to.
Okay, yeah.
Yep.
Well, I'd
Well-
like to move, we re-up the term for 4 years.
I second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. Congratulations. You're
And
going
thank
on
you
to
so much.
16 years.
I'll be back in the spring.
Mosquitoes, go
Jana.
figure.
Thank you for your service.
All right, so 17 is now done. Next item.
Next item is the consent calendar, and we have items 5 through 12.
Anybody wish to pull anything off the consent item? If not, I will consider a motion of 5 through 12.
I'll move consent.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries 4-0. Thank you. Next item.
The next item is public hearing, item number 13. The subject is approval of update to user fees and establish a master fee schedule. The recommendation is to adopt a resolution amending and restating the city user fees and establishing new fees for certain services provided.
Good evening,
Welcome.
Mayor and members of council. Rhonda Rivera, Assistant City Manager, Administrative Services, and I'm here this evening with Bill Zanoni. And this is the second meeting that we will be discussing the master fee schedule, the proposed schedule. The first meeting was back on November 14th.
And just a quick question, are these available, are there a few of them in the back? Okay, so this large, blown up for our eyes have, is what we're going to be talking about.
Okay. Now we're ready to go.
Cool. Welcome.
And so at this time, I'll turn it over to Bill Zanoni, the city consultant who worked on this project with the vendor from Matrix Consulting.
Good evening. We have there we go. We have a brief presentation this evening, just to kind of go over the fee process that the city has followed. What we would like to do this evening is just give you a quick overview of the background of the fee analysis process and the methodology that was followed. And if you have questions regarding that methodology, we have Courtney Ramos from Matrix Consulting, who actually did the analysis with the city, is here, and she's available to answer questions should they come up. We want to go through with you the findings of the study, and based on those findings, the recommendations that staff is bringing forward. At the conclusion of that, the council will conduct a public hearing. We have staff from all of the departments here. They are not planning to make presentations this evening. You received those last month, but they're here should there be any questions that they'll be able to respond to. And then after that, hopefully the council will adopt a resolution approving and adjusting the city's various user fees, and we will end up with for the first time, a citywide master fee schedule. So just a little bit of background. The city of Citrus Heights, like all cities, receives tax revenue to support general city services such as public safety, general administration services, facilities in the city, for example, this building that we're in, and things like the city's various insurance costs. In addition to those general activities that benefit all citizens and taxpayers in the city, there are specific services that are requested and provided for typically private benefit. And those are usually discretionary services that are requested by a user. And those costs, a portion, if not all of those costs, are normally funded by user fees. Any of those costs that aren't covered by user fees are subsidized by general fund tax dollars. So given that, user fees should be based on a cost of service analysis, which is what the city just had completed. And what that cost of service analysis should identify is that the fees should not be profitable. Fees don't necessarily have to be set to cover the full cost of service, but the council should at least be aware of what the actual cost is and make a conscious decision as far as how far you wish to go to get up to the full cost of service. Fees should be compliant with state law, and they should be fair and equitable and somewhat comparable to fees charged by surrounding jurisdictions. The last comprehensive user fee that was done in the city of Citrus Heights was back in 2005. Some of our fees have been adjusted since that time. There are some fees, specifically the building fees, that were last adjusted 13 years ago, back in April of 2007, and they haven't been adjusted since then. So last April, the city entered into a contract with Matrix Consulting Group to conduct a comprehensive look at all of the city's user fees across all departments, with the goal of identifying what the actual cost of providing the services that the city provides, and based on that, maybe not eliminating, but partially reducing the general fund subsidy. The methodology, just at a high level, that was followed was interviews with staff in all the affected departments, and data collection. And that data collection involved multiple meetings with staff to identify the amount of time that was devoted to provide the various services, looked at the costs, both direct and indirect. Direct costs are costs, salaries, benefits, supplies, services that are we can directly tie those to a specific activity, and then indirect or overhead costs that support that activity. And the goal was to come up with an hourly rate per individual, a loaded hourly rate, fully burdened hourly rate, that we could multiply by the amount of hours or time that was spent for each different activity to come up with the actual cost. Once that was done, the consultant did went through a verification process, because what you want to make sure is once you take all these costs and spread them, that you haven't double counted, that we haven't taken the cost of an individual and spread them more than 100%, so we're not overcharging. And so that process was done, and once that was completed, then the results were reviewed by city staff, and the recommendations that you have this evening were started with the results of the study, and then city staff took those consultant recommendations and in many cases reduced the consultant recommendations down to something that they felt was more reasonable for the city of Citrus Heights. So the timeline for this project, we went through this at your meeting in November. For the last 6 months, there's been a fair amount of back and forth discussions between the consultant and city staff. A draft report was issued in October. November 14th, the city council received a presentation from each of the departments, and it was, I think, a fairly detailed presentation. And based upon the comments from council at that November 14th, we've made a couple of adjustments to the recommendations that you have before you this evening. One of them is under the police department fees. Under unruly gatherings, there was some discussion on that fee, and the police department has decided to revise their recommendation, and so for unruly gatherings, there's no recommended charge for the first officer call, but second and subsequent calls would be billed at actual cost. And for the planning group, the appeal fee, the initial proposal was to increase the appeal fee from the current fee of $250 to $500. Based upon the discussion with council in November, staff is now recommending that that fee remain at $250. In addition to those changes, based upon discussions over the last week, we're recommending 2 additional adjustments to the fees that were initially proposed. And one is again, in the police department, the audio and video handling fee. We currently don't have a fee for that. The actual cost was calculated to be about $167. We had proposed a fee of $50. Staff is now recommending that we don't have charge an additional fee for that. What is in the material that you have is an adjustment to the audio and visual recording fee, an adjustment of about $13 to each of those fees, and the feeling is that through those adjustments, we'll be able to recover most of our cost without adding an additional fee for that.
Mayor?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, sir.
I was waiting for Jeannie to speak up.
That happens the first time. Question, I don't remember what that task of audio video handling fee was from our last presentation. Just real briefly, what does that entail? And if you don't know, maybe someone from the PD standing by.
You don't mind coming up to the
We have the expert here.
microphone so we can get it on tape.
Perfect, thank you. I was just curious.
Good evening, Council. Tiffany Campbell, Support Services Supervisor. The handling fee was discussed about staff time in order to find the material, whether it was in our case or in our evidence, where it lives within our filing system, and then have to take that time to review and redact those items out so that it could be released.
But where does this video and audio come from?
It comes from our cases.
Okay.
So it might be a traffic collision
Got it.
or recordings in the field.
Okay.
Great. Thank you, Tiffany.
And the second adjustment that we're recommending to what was originally proposed is in the building division. The building division currently charges a permit issuance fee of $68. The actual cost of that activity is just a little bit over $300. We had proposed an increase of up to 75% of the actual cost, which would bring it up to $235. In looking at that adjustment, while this is a fee, I think, where we don't want to set fees too high to discourage compliance with the requirement to obtain permits, and we felt upon looking at this further that this might be one that would be justified to remain where it is at $68. So we're recommending in the material that you have before you this evening that the permit issuance fee remain unchanged. So just real quickly, the fees that were reviewed covered 7 areas in the city: city clerk, finance, facilities, the community center, police, building, planning, and engineering. Based upon the results, there are no recommended changes for the city clerk's office. In finance, there's only one change that we're recommending, and that is to multiple return checks by the same individual. We're not recommending at this time any increases to community center fees. But for the 4 remaining divisions, police, planning, building, and engineering, those 4 departments or divisions in the city are currently recovering about 54% of the cost of the specialized services that they provide. And what that has resulted in is a general fund subsidy, if you will, of about $1.6 million. So for the police department, right now, the police department is recovering just about 48% of the cost of their user fee provided services. Thank you. They are under recovering by about $300,000. And again, I want to stress, under recovering isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's just, we just need to be aware that that those are costs that are impacting the city's general fund. And the areas that are not fully cost recovering right now are alarm permits, animal services, vehicle release fees, and fingerprint and live scan fees. So what police is recommending are adjustments to their some of their administrative fees, vehicle release fees, For unruly gatherings, we're recommending just going from a flat fee to actual cost, but again, not charging for the first officer call, and adjusting some of the animal impound fees. We're not recommending a change to the alarm fees, nor to any animal license fees at this time. There's several new fees that are recommended in the police department, and I think we walked through those at the meeting in November, so I won't go through those again tonight unless you have a question. For the building division, again, as I had said earlier, the building division fees were last adjusted in April of 2007. And most of these fees, if not all of them, are very heavily labor intensive. They're tied to the cost of labor. So what that means is we are charging fees right now based on labor costs from what they were 13 years ago. And when they were adjusted in 2007, it was a very minor adjustment. So clearly these fees are behind the actual cost, and in fact, they're slightly under 50%. Building right now is under recovering, if you will, by about $1.2 million. Those are mainly valuation-based permits and services. So what we're recommending is, for building, is an increase of the flat rate permit fees to 75% of cost, effective in January, with 3 additional adjustments of 5% each over the next 3 years with a target goal of reaching 90% of cost for the flat permit fees. For the valuation-based permit fees, we're recommending going to 90% of cost. And again, we're not recommending any change to the current permit issuance fee. That would remain at $68. For planning, planning collects fees for various permits, parcel maps, design review, as well as business licenses. Planning right now is recovering about 2/3 of the cost of providing those services. And the recommended adjustments to planning fees are, for business licenses, bringing those up to actual cost. The other fees, planning went through each of their fees and looked at what comparable agencies or cities around us were charging, with the goal of only going up to actual cost if that put us in a position where we were comparable to our neighboring cities, and also trying to be mindful of not having a significant impact on residents and small businesses. For engineering collects various permit, encroachment, transportation permits. Engineering does plan checking, mapping. They are overall collecting pretty much at full cost recovery, or pretty 99%. What engineering is proposing is streamlining their fee structures, not necessarily increasing, but combining permit types, for example, encroachment permits, taking some permits that are a deposit and moving them to a flat fee. Whenever we collect a deposit, we have to track it and then either bill the applicant at the end or provide a refund. So for some that are fairly stable, we would propose going to a flat fee. There are some that are currently at a flat fee that we're recommending would be restructured to a deposit or to be billed at actual cost. And there are some where we're recommending adjusting the deposit amount or the valuation ranges. We've done a fair amount of outreach over the last couple of weeks. Information on these fee adjustments was placed on the city website. notification, information on the increase was sent to the Building Industry Association, the Chamber of Commerce, the Sacramento Regional Builders Exchange, Sunrise Marketplace, PBID, Auburn Boulevard Business Association. Information was sent out to the local contractors that the city has contact information on, and it was placed in the city's newsletter. So there was a fair amount of outreach. We've received some questions, not a lot, but some questions. The recommendation is that these fees become effective January 1st. We're also recommending that there be an annual inflation adjustment, as we talked about at the meeting in November. Typically, you would go through a full-blown comprehensive fee review every 3 to 5 years. But in that interim, what we are recommending is that there be that the city manager be delegated authority to implement an annual inflation adjustment up to the change in the consumer price index based on the October consumer price index each year. This year it was slightly over 3%, but that we wouldn't across the board increase all fees, that would be up to the city manager to meet with staff and decide which of those fees should be adjusted. For example, there may be some that wouldn't be. And then when we do another study, or when you do another study 3 to 5 years out, you're not so far behind. You don't want to get as far behind as you are right now. Fiscal impact of the recommendations, we think would be about $600,000 in additional revenue to the general fund. The recommended action for this evening is that the council conduct a public hearing. At the conclusion of the public hearing, that the council adopt a resolution amending and restating the city user fees and establishing new fees for certain services that the city provides. And with that, we can answer any questions you might have.
Well, thank you, Bill and Rhonda, you guys in the Matrix group. You did a great job. I mean, a lot of fees, a lot of research, a lot of numbers. And I know all the departments chimed in and gave, particularly the police, in terms of fees they didn't want to see go up because they want to encourage, i.e. animal control, registering your pet, and alarm permits. So thank you for that. This is a public hearing, so before I open it, does anybody on the council have any questions or concerns before I open the public hearing?
There's one thing I wanted to ask, and that would be, and I don't know if the council would be amenable to this, but on the vehicle release, if someone's vehicle is stolen and it gets towed, that's just an insult to injury when you have to pay $180 to get your car back, as opposed to if your car got towed because it was illegally parked or you were inebriated or something like that. I'd like to have the possibility to waive that fee in those instances with the police department.
So who would have the ability to waive that fee?
Administratively, you mean?
Yeah.
Where it was. I don't want to see that.
When a victim's vehicle is stolen, they do not incur a fee for the release.
Oh, tell that
All
to
right.
Nevada City. I had to pay when I get my truck
Yeah,
back.
in our city, we do not charge our victims that fee.
Very good. Good to know.
Good to know. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, so this is a public hearing. I'll go ahead and open the public hearing. I have one speaker for this particular item, Ben Schell. Good evening, sir.
Hi, good evening. My name's Ben. I'm surprised to be the only speaker here for this topic, being that an awful lot of people on Facebook were quite upset about these fee increases, and I wanted to come out and share for myself as a resident and homeowner in the city my feelings on the matter.
Thank you.
So overall, I have to say you guys have been doing a great job in the city. I've lived here for about 10 years, and it seems like things are continuing to improve, and I'm proud to be a resident of Citrus Heights. So great work. That said, something like this fee increase comes as quite a shock. Like, this is not a gradual increase. This is not something like, or something that you expect. Like, we know our water rates are going to go up a little bit every year with the way that the water, droughts have been a crisis and things like that over the past, few years. You kind of expect that. You don't expect, tripling of permit fees and things like that. That's shocking and unexpected. And so, quite frankly, I'm, strongly against these increases. I'm glad to see that at least the base permit fee isn't going to increase right away. That's great news. But overall, I would like to see a fee schedule that encourages development. It encourages homeowners to get permits. Any increases are going to discourage that. I want to see something like, for example, a water heater replacement or sewer replacement. Those are not even, those are not even discretionary fees in most cases. In most cases, those are mandatory. So really to have even any permit fee for something like that feels a bit regressive and, a penalty to something that just broke, right? Like, that's not the kind of thing that you should even be charging a fee for, in my opinion. So any increase there is I think, really, really disappointing. And ultimately, the question that I would ask, and I've spoken to some other people, the last couple of days about this as well, some neighbors and others, is if the fees the city needs to recoup for some of these services are so high, then maybe we have too much regulation overall. Some of these things shouldn't cost so much money to recoup. That's just my perspective on it. Obviously, your analysts have put a lot of work into figuring out where the actual costs are, but I would just ask that in the future, you would ask your analysts to look into where costs can be cut, not just recouped, but where they can be cut. Because it seems like the focus is where can we recoup the cost, not how can we cut our cost. And that's what I would like you to focus on. So I think that's all I have to share. I thank you for your time.
Great. Thank you for coming forward, sir. All right. Any other members of the public who didn't have an opportunity to fill out a speaker sheet would like to speak on this topic? Not? Go ahead and close the public comment section. So comments, now that the public hearing is closed, from council members. Starting with...
Well, I'll start.
Okay.
And just to be clear, and I think there were some good points made by the speaker, when we don't raise the fees and to match the costs and looking at some of these costs, quite frankly, these are mandated by state and codes. To send an inspector out for an electrical panel of $75, I don't even think that's the actual cost when you factor in all the extras. But I do agree, we should encourage inspections for the safety of all water heaters and sewers. If not done properly, you've got, infectious diseases with sewers, and water heaters are, quite frankly, vessels that can explode, and if they're not done properly, we need to look at them. But we want to encourage that to happen. But it does mean this isn't a moneymaker for us by charging fees. It's covering our costs, and it means that all of us, as taxpayers, will subsidize our neighbor's permit. And I'm okay with that, especially to encourage safety throughout the city. So I appreciate all the effort that went into this. I don't think I have any other questions on the fees. Consolidating the development fees makes it a lot easier, I think, now we don't have many major developments going on. We do have the 260 homes going in by the mall, but for the most part, that allows the developers to figure their costs and what their project's ultimately going to cost them. So I don't have any other further questions, and I yield.
All right. Thanks, Steve. Porsha, do you have any comments? All right. Jeannie?
Just one, just a little, amplify a little bit. I thank you, Ben, for coming forward tonight. Just make sure you understand that the one fee that I had a lot of anxiety over, and that we got most of our input from the public on, was actually the permit issuance fee, which impacted a lot of areas, that big increase, but especially water heaters, and I totally agree, in a time of crisis, you can't, there's no discretionary decision about whether or not to replace your hot water heater. You have to do it
Now.
So that got that increase got completely wiped out. So that fee went back down to what it is today and has been for the last, 11, 12 years. And so I think that's the kind of fee that's going to hurt the little guy if it goes up in a big way. The other fees that have to do with development, these get factored in and get spread over the breadth of a large project by the builders and the commercial people. And in the last meeting that we had when we were first introduced with the fees, I made the comment that we really need to have balance, because it's true that if we don't, as a city, charge fees that cover 100% of the cost, then the balance of that cost is paid by us, the taxpayers, over, a period of general budget line items and so forth. So, but at the same time, if we're not even approaching 100% cost recovery, we're approaching a portion of it. If we went to 100%, I think it would be so burdensome that we would have, we see development basically really slow to not to a halt, but would really slow down, and we don't want that. So it's a fine balance. And if, to the extent that we do subsidize it within the general fund, that just means that that money is not available to us as a city to put into other projects that services our community. So those are the things that we have to grapple with when we consider what to do with fees. But I'm very pleased to see that we backed completely away from the permit issuance fee so that the homeowner isn't unduly burdened when they have to do a necessary replacement like a hot water heater or something of that magnitude. That's my only comment.
Great, thank you, Jeannie. So yeah, I would agree with my fellow council members. I mean, this is a tough one in the sense that, I live in the city. I do this. I pay any new fee here just like you would. At the same time, I'll point to Jeannie and myself. We've both sat here since 2005, so shame on us for letting it go since 2005 for not looking at it.
Steve, too, he was here.
Okay. So regardless of what we do tonight,
Yeah, getting off.
Chris, city manager, 3 to 5 years, we need to be on that schedule. I know you won't lose track of that. How we got to this point, we're remiss. But at the same time, I'll take a little different approach than some of my fellow council members. I don't enjoy, I have lots of friends in town. I don't want to pay for a portion of their pool, even if they invite me over. I don't want to pay for a portion of that. They should pay for their own darn pool. So, I look at when I'm subsidizing somebody else's fee and I get no benefit, that doesn't make me happy. However, to take them up to 100%, I get it's a balance. I think we've come up with a happy medium here by putting in a CPI that, allows us to move forward. And on some of them, working, over time to get to 90%, I think is a fair shot. But, we've all been talking about water heaters, but, electrical, plumbing, sewer, those are all health and safety. If it's not done right, that can affect you, that can affect your neighbors. So, and seeing the budget every year, seeing all the things that this city does, without certain fees, we wouldn't survive. We wouldn't be able to put your police out on the street. We wouldn't be able to do the fire, et cetera. So everything you want, we want too, but at the end of the day, you have to figure out how to pay for it. So this is a happy medium. Some of them I might like to see a little more, but I'm perfectly fine with the adjustments that have been made. I think you all did a good job. I mean, it's kind of numbing for a lot of people to see all these numbers and, I'm a banker, so I actually got excited by this list, but, that was me. So at this point, what's the pleasure of the council?
Real quick, Mayor, I'd like to add one thing. I wanted to thank Ben for coming forward. I do see social media, but I don't sit there and read it all the time. What really makes an impact is coming forward, talking to us, giving us your thoughts. And I want to thank the folks that emailed us, because we see those. And so please, it's easy to make a comment on Facebook, but when you're passionate about an issue, please contact us and we can have a dialogue, and it helps us. Sometimes folks think of some things we haven't thought of, so I really appreciate you coming forward tonight.
Okay, so I'll repeat, what's the pleasure of the council?
Move it.
Sure, I'll move approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Second, or opposed? Abstain? Motion carries 4-0. Next item, please.
Next item is public hearing, item number 14. The subject is the Fair Oaks Senior Affordable Apartments at 12057 Fair Oaks Boulevard. The recommendation is to adopt a resolution adopting a mitigated negative declaration, introduce and read by title only an ordinance amending the zoning map to rezone 3 properties from RD10 to RD20, adopt a resolution approving a concession request and design review permit, and then approve a tree permit to allow for removal of several trees subject to the findings and conditions in the staff report.
Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Casey Kemper, the Planning Manager. The project before you tonight is called the Fair Oaks Affordable Senior Housing Project. It's a proposal for 110 units of senior affordable housing, comprised of 42 one-bedroom units and 68 two-bedroom units. It's on a 5-acre parcel on the west side of Fair Oaks Boulevard, north of Treecrest Avenue. It does have a roadway connection to Sylvan Drive on the west. It's currently home to an existing single-family house on large acreage with an orchard, and it's agricultural kind of use. So tonight, we're asking the council to consider a mitigated negative declaration for the environmental document for the project. We're asking you to rezone the project from RD10 to RD20. We're asking you to approve a design review permit and asking you to grant a concession request and density bonus related to the affordable housing, as well as grant a tree permit for the removal of several trees. So a lot of the questions we get is, what does affordable mean? So in this case, it's a tax credit affordable project, which is restricted to 60% or less of the area median income. So that means 98 units will be low income, which is about $2,900 a month for a single occupant. 11 units will be very low income, which is about $2,400 a month. And 1 unit will be the manager's unit. As I mentioned, it's a tax credit program, so the developer isn't seeking any funding from the city to build this project. And as part of the development, they're required to guarantee that the property will be retained for affordable levels for 55 years. And this project is age restricted to 55 and over.
Casey, just go back to that slide, please. So just to clarify, because I read this first time, it didn't make sense to me. 98 units, low income is they earn $25.30 per month or less?
That's correct.
Thank you. Yeah, that's what I was looking at, yeah.
So this is the project site. As you can see, it's on Fair Oaks Boulevard. It's an interesting T-shape. It connects here on Sylvan Drive. As I mentioned, there's an existing single-family house, orchard, and it's kind of a grassland or agricultural feel to it. To the north is apartments, and to the south is single-family homes and duplexes. And as you know, on the east side of Fair Oaks Boulevard is unincorporated Sacramento County. So the first request is to rezone the property from RD10 to RD20. The first thing we look at when we consider rezoning a property is the general plan and see if it's consistent with the general plan. And one of those policies is related to upzoning. So if you are upzoning, the council has to find that the project will provide superior design and enhanced community benefit. And also that it has to blend with the neighborhood, and it will not negatively impact storm drainage or other infrastructure. So we think by the nature of it being a senior affordable project, as well as the fact that they have a variety of open space features, we think it really, and it's a well-designed project, we think it really does meet the intent of this policy. In addition, the general plan designates this land as medium-density residential, which means it can be anywhere from RD10 all the way up to RD20. So it's consistent with what the general plan allows, up to 20 units per acre. And you can see it's surrounded by, the orange there is medium-density residential, so it's largely surrounded by the medium-density residential. And then this is the zoning map, so you can see it's abuts RD20, which is what they're requesting the project to be rezoned. So on the north is existing apartments, and so it'd be identical zoning to that RD20. So under the current zoning, which is RD10, they would be allowed about 49 units. With the rezone, they double that to 99 units, but they're also asking for a density bonus, which I'll touch on here shortly. The design review permit is the permit where we look at how the project's designed and how it circulates and how it flows and how it meets our city's standards. So the blue squares in here represent different buildings. There's a total of 10 buildings with a community center building in purple. The site's main driveway will be accessed via Sunrise Boulevard. It has an east-west drive aisle that provides connection to Sylvan Drive. In order to prevent cut-through from the general public, the applicant initially proposed a emergency vehicle access only gate at this location, and staff has since recommended that would become a click-to-enter gate for residents only. So it would not only prevent cut-through, but it would also provide residents a safe access to Sunrise Boulevard, which I'll touch on more here shortly. North-south, there is another drive aisle that provides access to a fire department turnaround. The black arrow represents an easement that the applicant is obligated to grant to the adjacent property owner if at such time he were to develop a project at the city's discretion. We would be able to allow that easement to move forward if it's a compatible use that makes sense to share that property. So that this owner has expressed they'd like to do some development, but until we know what that development looks like, we will not authorize that easement to move forward. You can see here, this is your typical building elevation. The developer did a good job of respecting where the adjacent property owners are. So along pretend this is the property line of the adjacent fence, they're at least 20 feet to the footprint of the house, and then at least 50 feet before it goes up to 2 stories. So they kind of step the buildings up as they got further away from the single-family homes that surround the site. The large building here is a 3-story building. There's actually 2 buildings connected with a breezeway and an elevator shaft. And that is this larger building on the site here it's adjacent to the existing multifamily. And as you can see here, all this frontage of the western side of the site, that's all single story as it abuts the existing single family. And this is just a picture of the community center clubhouse that's for the residents of this. The red lines here represent the meandering path that goes throughout the site. Any apartment project in the city is required to provide recreational opportunities for the residents. So the red path is kind of the key feature that shows the one thing we hear from residents the most is they want to be able to walk in a safe manner. So this provides a walking route through the site that they can all use to get exercise and enjoy the day. As part of that, they also have a variety of recreational spaces programmed, a rose garden, they have community gardens, they have a flexible use court. You can see here they have croquet and seating areas. So we think it's going to be a really nice project for the folks that live there. The next request from the council is a concession request, and a concession request is something that's allowed under state law and under the zoning code if you meet certain affordability standards. So in this case, the project is 100% affordable and it's restricted to seniors, so they are entitled to up to 3 concessions. And the concessions can be anything, any development standard in the community. The first concession is shown here is adjacent to an existing parcel. The parking is encroaching into that setback, and that was required in order to make the building fit and the roadway fit. They had to shrink down that setback for the parking to make the project work. Concession number 2 is similar situation. It's on the hammerhead down here. Typically, there would be a 10-foot setback. In this case, there's a 1-foot setback, and they have they'll have a masonry wall along the perimeter there. The third concession is related to overall parking spaces. We know that as a senior project, they don't drive as much as a regular project. So they've asked for a concession in that regard. And further, the zoning code allows additional reduction based on data provided by the applicant. So in order to approve a density bonus and concessions, you have to demonstrate that it's needed for the financial feasibility. And if these concessions were not granted, it would reduce the total yield from 110 units down to 89 units, which would result in a $1.6 million capital loss and annual operating subsidies. So that basically makes it so the project wouldn't pencil for the developer to move forward. As I mentioned, the parking concession is allowed as a concession, but also the zoning code allows a reduction based on data. The applicant has two different developments elsewhere in the region, in Rockland and Sacramento, and they did a survey at night to look at what the parking demand was, and based on our parking standards, they were only using about 69 to 75% of the parking required. So staff feels comfortable that there's going to be adequate parking based on this data from their other very similar projects. So they're requesting almost a 12% reduction in the parking requirement. So also as part of the affordable component, in order to help make the project pencil, they are requesting a density bonus for 11 units. So as you can see here, the rezone to RD20 will get them up to 99 units. They're asking for an additional 11 units under the density bonus, which is allowed. It's actually less than the density bonus they'd be entitled to under state law. The tree permit is to remove about 50 trees. A number of those trees are in poor health, or they've been hacked by the utility company. There's power lines that go along the side of the property, so they're not in great shape. The applicant is proposing to plant 87 new trees, and the balance of those trees removed will be required to be replaced through the mitigation fund or otherwhere on the site. The applicant's done a number of outreach efforts since when they first submitted and ongoing. They met with the neighbor association, they gave tours to the neighbor association of their centers in other locations. And part of what they heard was where the trash enclosure is near someone's pool, so they were able to move that. They provided the easement to the property owner to the east that would like to develop their property. And they also redesigned the southern boundary to save some existing cypress trees. You have received a number of comment letters. Most of them were in your packet, but then there should be another one on your dais that was received today. A lot of the feedback was regarding circulation to the site. There was initially, as I said, the applicant did not propose to have a gate except for EVA and trash pickup. But when the city received the traffic report, we found that 50% of the trips generated from the site are desiring to get to Sunrise Boulevard. And rather than have these seniors try to come out of the site and go down Fair Oaks Boulevard to the signal or go hang a left across a 19,000 trips per day roadway, our recommendation was to have them come out the gate and hang a right at Kingswood Drive along the yellow line and get to the signal at Sunrise Boulevard. If the gate wasn't there, our feeling is that those residents would turn right and follow the green path, and that would exacerbate some existing circulation problems that are occurring at Celine Drive and Treecrest, as well as Celine and Kingswood. There's some, at Celine and Kingswood in particular, the northbound left turn is occurring at high rates of speed, and our thought is the less people we can put on that route, the better. It'd be better to have them come down Celine and make that right rather than contribute to that existing problem. And our general services and police department is already aware of the ongoing problems and working on solutions to those problems that are already occurring. But this project will not contribute to that because the gate will allow access to a shorter, more direct route. From a CEQA perspective, there is a mitigated negative declaration, and so there's a variety of mitigations included related to air quality. There's biological monitoring required to make sure before they start construction there's no sensitive species out there. There wasn't any found, but we always do monitoring ahead of time. There's special window design for windows along Fair Oaks Boulevard to protect residents from the noise from traffic on Fair Oaks Boulevard. I already mentioned the tree mitigation, stopping work if human remains or cultural remains are discovered, and then construction traffic management plans required for ensuring that the construction does not disrupt Fair Oaks Boulevard. The Planning Commission had a pretty lengthy discussion about the project and heard from numerous community members. These are a couple of the things that they really hit on was the, there a variety of uses are allowed on the property, whether it's rezoned or not, and they kind of thought that senior housing was a preferable land use to some of the alternatives, such as duplex or market rate apartments. They also recognize that there's an unmet need for independent senior housing. We've approved a fair amount of assisted senior housing in the city recently, but we haven't approved any independent for quite some while, since Normandy Park was done in the early 2000s. They had mixed feelings about the parking at first, but then as we discussed the statistical data from the other projects, they felt a lot more comfortable with it. And they thought that, the project clearly meets the general plan and zoning code, so they thought that was a good project. Many of the planning commissioners visited the sites off-site in Sacramento and Rockland and were very impressed with how they were upkept and the overall design, and some of them even talked to the residents there and were really impressed by the overall operation. So with that, the Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval of the project, and these are the motions that they recommend you move forward. I am available for any questions, and I know the applicant's here as well.
Great. Thank you, Casey. So it is a public hearing. Before we go there, two things. I'll ask my fellow council members if they have any questions. I do have to admit my first faux pas as mayor. I have this folder that was passed to me by the former mayor, and as I opened it, I did find a speaker card I missed.
That was before. We did that one already.
We did that one. Okay.
That's why it was in the
So-
folder.
Workshop.
Strike that. I'm still perfect. So council members, comments before we go to public hearing?
Question. Casey, I didn't quite understand the easement issue. Now, that's between this project and the neighbor and no city involvement, or?
So once this applicant submitted the application for the current project before you, this applicant reached out and said, hey, I have plans, I'd eventually like to develop this site. And he thought, it'd be better planning if they could be connected and reduce the number of driveways and so forth. So we said, you know what, that's probably a good idea, but you need to have a project developed, and you maybe should work with this owner and come up with something, you guys work together. For whatever reason, that didn't happen. So we said, okay, well, in order to still keep with that concept of good planning where you have a connection, maybe someday this will develop into a similar project, and maybe it'll make sense that you have a connection here. Maybe it's for emergency vehicle access only. So we really wanted to keep our options open, but also condition in a way that it's conditional depending on what he's going to propose there. If he's going to propose a 7-Eleven, it probably doesn't make sense there. But if it's another senior housing, maybe it does make sense to have a connection. So it's just to have that flexibility in the future if it's a compatible use.
So bottom line, this project's willing to grant that easement for now?
He's willing, and it's conditioned that way currently.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Concession 1, with the parking right next to the single-family residence there, what kind of separation between the resident and the parking do we have?
It's a 6-foot masonry wall, and they took special attention to landscaping along that area as well.
Okay. And are we removing oak trees?
We are removing numerous trees, yeah. And I was shared your concern in the beginning, but having walked the site and going out there, to be honest, the trees are not in great condition. They've been pretty hacked by smut over the years. Most of the trees are not in great shape. But they are, removing numerous trees out there.
And will we be replacing?
They will be replacing consistent with the tree mitigation plan.
Perfect. And any feedback on the speeding on Saline? Is that cut-through traffic? It looks, I don't drive down that area too much.
I'll have City Engineer Stu Hodgkins answer that.
Is that coming from the residents, or is there serious cut-through going from Fair Oaks down?
It's a little bit of a mix. We have met with some of the property owners in the neighborhood out there. There definitely is movement from Fair Oaks over towards Sunrise, for sure, through that area. There's a fairly large, those are residential collectors, and they're serving a pretty large area, including the areas to the east of Fair Oaks Boulevard. So there is some that you might call it cut through. We haven't done a full analysis on that at this point. We're working on it, so I can't quantify actual numbers at this stage.
But we do know that the contribution from this project is very minor. There's only 500 trips per day, and only 209 of those are going out towards Sunrise, so it is pretty minor overall.
I understand this, but regardless of this project, let's keep this on the front burner.
We do plan to do that. We actually have met with a couple of the representatives of the neighborhood, and this is definitely part of our multimodal transportation safety program that's under study now.
Okay. Maybe the seniors will slow them down, I don't know.
A couple questions.
Steve, are you done with your question?
Yes, thank you.
All right. Jeannie?
As I recall, you said that the zoning north of this project is RD20.
That's correct.
So what is there now?
On this site is RD10 currently.
Not the project site, the site above it.
That's RD20, it's apartments.
And is it actually built out to RD20 at this time?
I don't know the actual density, but it's pretty heavy. I mean, you can see in the aerial, it's pretty, it's pretty dense. I don't know if it's actually 20 units per acre or not, but it's pretty close.
Okay, so, all right, so that's close enough. So then, the reason I bring that up is because we have, if you kick it back to the site plan where you had the different levels of, back where you were, actually not the site plan, where you're showing the different designs of the various buildings, and you had the 3-story building.
There you go.
That one, the 3-story building is on the northern end there. How far away is that from the adjoining property site?
I believe it's about 50 feet, but let me just.
Okay. Because you've got 3-story buildings there, and on the other side of it, you've got 1-story buildings, is that correct?
On the north side, there's 1 and 2-story buildings. It looks like it's about 40 feet. I can ask the applicant to verify that offhand. I don't-
So, but what I'm saying is that the adjoining property where you have the other RD20 zoning, you have the apartments, those are single-story apartments, or single-story.
They're 2-story.
They are 2-story. Oh, okay, all right. And then, what is the Hammerhead? Is that just a turnaround?
That's where the fire department turns around.
Okay. And then what was the concession for, on the Hammerhead?
Typically, there'd be an 8-foot planter required here, and in order to fit the hammerhead in here without losing this big chunk of this building, they had to keep the hammerhead scooted all the way over to that side, so there's
Okay,
only
so
about
no planter, basically?
only a small 1-foot planter with a masonry wall.
Okay, all right. And then on concession one, is that parking covered?
We actually, the project, this graphic's a little bit older, that is no longer covered. That covered parking moved elsewhere on the site.
So that's just exposed parking?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Porsha, do you have any questions?
No, they took them all.
All right. All right. So again, this is a public hearing. I do have 3 speakers who wish to speak before us. So I'll open the public hearing. Yeah, that thing, the hearing. Jody Ash will be first, followed by Scott Balash. I think I pronounced that right, or if not. So Jody?
I'd like to thank the council.
Jody, can you come up to the microphones so we can record it? Thank you very much.
Good evening.
Good
I'd
evening.
like to thank the council for their time, but I'm going to withdraw the request.
You got it.
Thank you, Jody.
Thank you. Scott Balash. Am I saying that right, or am I? Balash, pardon me. And then Susan Stewart will be last on this. Thank you, sir.
Good evening. I live at the property there, it's 5706 Lane Drive, which is next to the proposed gate area there. We've lived there for, it's right there at the end of Selene Drive. We've lived there for approximately 18 years now, coming up on 18 years. And we've enjoyed, a quiet neighborhood and haven't had much going on next to us for the entirety of those 18 years. We understand that there needs to be, some affordable housing for seniors, and we're not really opposed to that going on there, but what we're mainly opposed to at this point is the gate access there and the traffic that's going to be coming in and out of there. We would like to see that be reduced, at least to maybe just an exit only, or possibly even just emergency vehicles only. That's going to create quite a bit of traffic, not only in front of our house every day. There's going to be 200-plus people living at this place, and there's going to be a lot of traffic coming in and out of there now. But also because of the traffic there is a lot of cut-through traffic, by the way, that goes through that area, which is real close to our house. And I'm pretty sure there's going to be problems, with, there are accidents there, not frequently, but there have been accidents. And traffic has increased quite a bit over the last few years in that location right there in the corner. And I think that if we increase traffic even more coming out of Selene there, it's going to be a problem. It really will be. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Balash. Susan Stewart?
Hi, Council. Thank you for your time. I live on the corner of Kingswood and Cypress Point, so I'm 1 block west of
Got it.
Selene. Celine and Cypress Point are both fairly narrow. If there are cars parked on both sides and cars are coming from opposing directions, somebody has to pull over to get past. And the cut-through traffic is causing real problems. The map he's currently displaying makes it look like everybody's just going to go to Treecrest, but they could go down to Madison and go around, and that's all big, wide streets, because those streets aren't meant to carry this kind of traffic. And there's people, it's a very dog-walking neighborhood. There's people out walking their pets all hours of the day, and people with strollers. Kingswood's wider, but Celine is not, and it just brings more traffic. It's a real little residential community. And also, I noticed with your parking, you can't just say that the residents don't drive. Senior people have people that come help them. They have cleaners, they have caretakers, they have people that come to visit them. They've got to park somewhere, and if there's no place to park, are they going to be parking on Celine in front of people's homes? I really agree that the Celine should just be an emergency exit, because that community is fairly high density as it is, and you don't need more people just pouring in there, because they'll come because it's shorter. And also, I believe I'm correct, the apartments immediately north of this are single-story. Across the street, they're two-story. But the first closest to it, I'm 90% sure are single-story that would be closest to the northern border. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else who hasn't had the opportunity to fill out a speaker sheet wish to do so? All right, public hearing is closed. So I have a follow-up question. So I get the whole issue of the gate, ingress, egress. But personally, I think one ingress, egress on Fair Oaks doesn't make this as good a project as it does the way it's proposed. But looking at this, so coming out the gate, coming up to Kingswood on Sylvan going south, Celine going south, I'm assuming we're going to put a stop sign, because we have no stop signs for the left turn from Celine to Kingswood, or no stop sign from a right turn off of Kingswood to Celine.
So in the southbound direction, coming out of the project, we would have a stop at that T intersection.
Okay, so I get that, and that makes sense. So let's talk about people getting home. Coming off of Sunrise, going eastbound on Celine, or Kingswood, sorry. Are we going to put a stop sign at Celine and Kingswood so that people turning left are not turning in front of people turning onto Kingswood who currently don't have any stop sign?
At this point, based on typical traffic data, and we've talked about stop sign warrants before with council, the numbers wouldn't necessarily warrant a stop. We are going to look at this. We currently have a restriped yield at that approach, because the predominant movement is Kingswood to right south, but there will be, you're correct, and technically a couple hundred trips that will, or at least 100 trips that will make that turn to the left during a given day. So we're going to be evaluating that certainly as part of the MMTSP to see if a multi-leg stop is the appropriate approach. But putting one in a situation where there isn't that much volume in a given hour can become a problem from our perspective, engineering-wise, in safety enforcement. People don't arrive at the intersection with another car on the side street, and over time, if we're talking 15 cars in the peak, 15 to 16 cars in the peak hour coming south on Celine. So we're concerned about committing to that now, but we are looking at it as part of the larger neighborhood study to see if that's appropriate.
And I get that, and I appreciate that. I look at that actually is an issue caused by this project if we allow people to go left. I live on a short little street, 5 houses, and yet I have a stop sign at the end of my street to come out in all directions. And, you know, if I get 20 cars on that other street a day, and we're talking 200, it just doesn't seem apples to apples from me. I mean, I went over there and looked at this area. I get the issue, Sylvan North onto Kingswood. I was actually a little surprised that there was no stop sign or anything there, but again, coming southbound in Sylvan, there's, you know, 4 or 5 houses tops on each side, maybe even less. So I see that today. But I am concerned when we talk about ingress, egress here, and not disputing your engineering degree whatsoever, you're smarter than me on traffic, I get it. But it just doesn't make sense to me that we wouldn't consider a stop sign there. And truthfully, when you talk about enforcement, we have the great people who wear uniforms. I don't want to take anything away from them, but I'm looking at it strictly from a safety. And if we put a stop sign in and people run it, that's not my problem, that's their problem. I'm just suggesting to the council that when I look at a project, if we're going to create a problem, I want to try to fix it. And to me, that totally warrants a stop sign. I get the whole Sylvan-Kingswood intersection needs to be studied. So I could begrudgingly say maybe I could wait, but I actually think if we approve this the way it stands, that we are exacerbating by not doing anything on Kingswood to make a left-hand turn. We're talking seniors here. I'm not quite in the senior state yet, but, you know, I know my vision isn't what it was 20 years ago. So that would be my concern. My other comment, like I said, I went out there and looked. I get, you know, somebody living there now on a, you know, dead-end street, if you will. Anything that goes in there is going to be an increase in traffic. I feel bad about that, but when I look at the street, I also realize the way it's designed, you know, eventually something looks like it's going to go there. I mean, you know, I don't know how to say it outside of that. Every time we do one of these where there's a street with a, you know, a board across it, people say, you know, the increased traffic, and I get it because you haven't had it, but, you know, that was kind of designed that way as an option for possible future use behind there. I'm glad to see senior apartments, affordable apartments. I think it's needed, not just in the city, throughout the state. I saw an article today where RENA, which is how cities and counties get allocated their residential housing number that they're supposed to build each year, well, over time, 97% of the agencies in California are hitting their numbers. There's no doubt there's a housing crisis. I'm glad to see something is being proposed that, you know, is affordable and for seniors. And to be honest with you, if I lived there and somebody was proposing apartments and/or you know, senior apartments, I would take senior apartments over regular apartments any day of the week. I mean, they're good people. They're, you know, they're usually in bed early. There's not a lot of parties going on the weekend. I look at every senior building that we have in the city, and most of them are kept very well, and we have very few complaints. So is this a perfect project? No, but I don't think it's a bad project, and I actually think it's a better project with the ingress and egress specific to Sylvan, but again, only for the residences. So those are my comments. Jeannie.
Thank you. Echo a lot of what Jeff said, and just want to, by comparison, Vintage Oaks, which is on Stock Ranch Road, it's a low-income senior apartment complex that went up about 25 years ago, and It's lovely, and you'd never know it was low income. When it was actually proposed before we became a city, and it was built before we became a city, so I guess it's been 25 years ago or more. But, and it's all senior, and they have to qualify every year to live there. So my first question is that going to be the case with this project as well? Will the seniors have to qualify each year to live there as low-income seniors, if it's a low-income project? Yes. Okay, thank you, sir.
Madam Mayor.
That's a good, short answer.
Are you the applicant? I mean, I just don't want somebody in the audience saying, yeah.
Okay.
Moving on.
The applicant is here if you have questions.
No,
to
we
him.
Trust it's the applicant. Yeah.
Okay, well,
Okay,
I don't
thank
know.
you. Little levity at this hour. And I want to just echo Jeff's comment, because coming off as the mayor this last year, I'm the person that got all the communication from the people that live in that neighborhood. And I know that neighborhood. I have a girlfriend who used to live on Sylvan many years ago, so I've been there over time. And it's not so much traffic volume as it is reckless driving. And so I concur with Jeff. I think stop signs would be a real good solution to that. And I don't see why it wouldn't be a three-way stop. That would absolutely deter people from hitting that corner and going on two wheels around, at a speed limit that's far in excess of what they should be doing. So that's my thought on that. I think it's an opportunity to address not only providing senior housing here, but to address a traffic problem that we've had, that I've known about for the last several months. Even though it might not meet the engineering needs, but I definitely think it is something that I'd like to see incorporated in this project.
If it is to the council's liking, we could add a condition that would require the applicant to perform the warrant analysis after the project is fully operational to see if that is in fact an ongoing problem, and that would address and meet the warrants for the stop sign at the applicant's expense.
Okay, it's a problem now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my point, it's a problem now. And so I see it as an opportunity to address the problem that already exists while we're working on this project.
And certainly, engineering is providing our recommendation. The council can provide their direction to us, and we're fine with that. We have the Multimodal Transportation Safety Program study underway today. The surveys, you may have seen, just went up, so we're seeking input. We've been communicating with some of the residents who live on Sylvan in the problem area. This is, as we've said, this is a problem that exists today. We've had communication with PD. They've done enforcement at the Tree Crest and Sylvan intersection. It's not just Kingswood and Sylvan, which
Right, it's that
it's
whole.
both of those, and that the corridors in between on Tree Crest to Fair Oaks and then Sylvan up to Kingswood. So with that in mind, we do have some reservations about just conditioning the project to address an existing problem. But if a stop sign is, if it's warranted, and we also have some concerns about doing it if it's not physically warranted by numbers.
By what?
The current numbers of volumes out there aren't going to warrant. We have an all-way stop at Tree Crest.
Can I interject?
You have an always stop at Tree Crest.
At
and
Tree
what?
Crest today,
And
at Tree Crest
Sylvan?
and Sylvan, sorry.
Right, there.
And we have the yield on the eastbound leg of Kingswood today. We definitely would have the stop sign on the outbound direction from the project, southbound Sylvan at Kingswood as part of the project. We have been, wanting to have the larger conversation because we think there's other measures aside from stop signs that may be appropriate too, because
So give me an
we have
idea.
speeding concerns.
Give me an idea what those measures are.
We discussed today options of putting in medians at the intersection, similar to what we've done.
So if I'm speeding, I have to go over a bump?
No, these are, raised actual raised medians at a T intersection that force the car.
So like they did put behind, say, like Coles.
Exactly, on Shoup over there, same idea. It forces the car to slow down and make a very hard 90-degree turn. The other options, I mean, we've had some conversations about potential for speed humps, maybe an opportunity, but we haven't done a full analysis of the corridor at this stage.
No, I get that, and I completely appreciate it, and I'm not trying to, let me finish. I'm not trying to say I'm an engineer. I got one in my family, and I don't understand her half the time. So it's great that you do what you do. But again, when I sit up here and with my years on the Planning Commission, I look at what is the project going to cause, not what is, you're right, there's a problem there. This, the stop sign south will eliminate that. But if it's ingress, egress, I do see a problem with people coming eastbound on Kingswood wanting to make a left, and people coming northbound,
Slamming into them.
right, because I'm older and maybe I didn't look, or, so I hesitate to say I want, this to go in, and then let's see if we have an accident. I mean, to me, that doesn't make sense. I get the left-hand turn, but I don't know, I think the stop sign at the corner for a left-hand turn makes sense personally, but. Yeah, I mean, three-way, but I'd rather let the service continue to see, because it might be more than that, but anyways.
What I understand here is trying to establish a nexus with this project.
Right.
The traffic concerns, and I do, we talked about this earlier, I do see a nexus that Jeff's talking about, not only outbound, but inbound as well. And I'm not a traffic engineer either, and I vowed not to tell engineering where to plant the stop signs, but in this case, it almost seems like a three-way would be appropriate. I understand you have some objections to, and I see this on Mariposa around my house too, that we have reckless drivers everywhere. And I've watched them just blow through a stop sign. When I'm stopped at the stop sign, it's like, wow, go ahead, sir. Obviously, where they're going is more important than what I'm doing, but it still makes it illegal, not only the speed, but blowing the stop sign would add to the ticket, and we need to do some maximum enforcement there once this goes up.
Okay.
So I'm looking for.
All right, well, I am, if we move forward, I'm going to make a motion to put a three-way stop in, and if your surveys come up with other mitigations that need to be there as well, that's great. Certainly, you don't want to put stop signs in and then say, maybe we didn't need it, we pull it away. I'm going to err on the side of caution and trust with our Assistant Chief of Police sitting in the audience that she will hear that if we do require 2 additional stop signs there and that becomes a bigger problem than it is today, we think we have a whole motor unit that would, love to sit somewhere out there and, not that we want to generate fee income for the city, but hey, if people are being dumb, we'll take their money.
So I have a question. Go
ahead.
Mr. Mayor, anything else from you, Porsha? No. If we condition this project and put the 3 stop signs in, what impact is that going to have on the project?
I don't think that there's an impact on the project other than the cost to install the paint and the stop signs.
Okay.
So
The applicant is here and is able to maybe have some thoughts on that as well.
We'd love to hear from you.
Yep. Thank you. And if you would state your name for the record, sir, thank you.
My name is Craig Myers. I'm the architect for the development team. And just speaking to him and hearing your discussions, we have no objection to whatever the council decides. We're happy to work with engineering to continue with that, but if it's 3 stop signs, it's fine. It's whatever the council would like to adopt, we are fine.
Thank you, sir.
Ms. Bruins, one response to your question, that 3 stories, 55 feet from that northern property line.
Great.
Thank you for that.
Thank you for the clarification. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. So
playing devil's advocate to what we just talked about, our own thoughts on this is, I know there's a potential risk that could exasperate the traffic problem because people are not going to be ready for it. I live in an area where I live on the other end of town, but I remember when they first put stop signs in out where I live, I mean, I ran them a few times before I realized that they were there. And I actually got a ticket once for doing that a long, long time ago. Didn't run it again. And so I get that that could happen, you know, but I think that particularly, I'm thinking of a particular stop sign was egregious to me for a long time. But we did put a notice out there that a stop sign was going in, so
Yeah.
people were aware of it. So I support
Okay.
your amendment.
So we do have, I know General Services has the trailer with the, you know, you can put the messages up. So while I, you know, don't think it needs to be a condition, I think just it would be nice to give people a forewarning, you know, if we go ahead with the, make that a three-way stop there.
I drafted a condition
Okay.
for your consideration. It
Let's hear it.
says, prior to final, the applicant shall install a three-way stop at Celine and Kingswood, or alternative, traffic calming as determined by the city's engineer.
How about and?
You're the council.
Or, we want our stop signs, Casey.
It
I
gives you
just-
time to come back and. in case
Okay,
you made a mistake.
prior to final, the applicant shall install a three-way stop subject to the city engineer's approval.
And with that in mind, then, I don't have any objection to the access gate being both directions, not just
Yeah.
egress, but ingress as well.
So, and I'm sorry, can you just read that one back to me again?
Prior to final, the applicant shall install a three-way stop at Celine and Kingswood, subject to the city engineer's approval.
That only means we have to sign off
I know.
on the,
I know.
on the design.
I just want to make sure I heard
Eyebrows
it
are going
correct.
up.
Wanna make
The
sure
audience.
The stop
I
sign's in
am-
the right place and the line's in the right place.
Correct. We are functioning and engineering at your direction.
You know, Stu, you know I love you. Stu and I have the same birthday, so we always communicate throughout the year, so.
Who's older?
We're not going there. And I appreciate it, and again, I'm not trying to override anybody, you know, I mean, you're an engineer, I'm not, but I just see the potential issue there, and again, you know, if we forewarn people and they run it, we have police to look at it, but I think even if half of them stop, that's better, and, you know, I actually think you'll probably come up with something additionally there, you know, whether it's the curbs, you know, the raised median and/or a speed hump, so.
Our standard, just as far as notification, is a minimum of 2 weeks
Okay.
with advance advisory signage.
Great. All right.
Gives them plenty of time to know what's happening. All right.
Steve, do you have any other?
Nothing to add. Jeannie and you, Jeff, covered most of what I wanted to say, but I did want to address the residents. This is one of the toughest things we do. I understand looking at a field for 18 years and being on a dead end. I'm on a dead end that could someday go through. And actually, as Jeff said, senior housing is probably the quietest use that you'll see. And I can promise you that construction is going to be your biggest hassle with the noise and everything like that. Once you get through that, I think you're going to have a good set of neighbors and quiet neighbors at that, and not really add to this traffic issue that we're talking about that's existing right now. So this is the hard part, of filling in the last pieces of the puzzles here in the city.
Before I ask for the council's direction, would that be under bullet point 3? Is that where that would be added?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. So at this point, since I've closed the public hearing, actually, I don't know if I reopened it for the applicant, I apologize, but first night, what can I say?
Mayor, one of the residents is asking to reopen the public.
Okay. I'll open the public hearing.
Would you come to the
Would you come to the microphone so that it can be on the tape?
And we can hear you.
I just wanted to ask if it would be possible to have in the record somewhere that if Kingswood becomes more heavily trafficked, that we could look at speed bumps at some point, because we already have people screeching down Kingswood at 45, 50 miles an hour sometimes.
Well, I'll tell you what,
I don't think the seniors are going to
Yeah,
do
no,
that,
I
but the
get it.
people that come see them.
so by coming forward and having it on the microphone, it's now on the record.
Thank you.
But I would leave it to you, because I don't drive on Kingswood, I live on the other side of town. If let the project be in 6, 7 months. But if you see it to be a problem, every council meeting we come, we have public comment. You can come and remind us what you said. But I'm also trusting that our police department will be diligent out there looking to, working with our engineering to know. I mean, it's one of many intersections in the city, that have problems. Unfortunately for you, it's kind of off the beaten track, so that, I think that's why people.
I'm thinking more of down Kingswood.
Well, that's going to be addressed in our larger study that Mr. Hodgkins referred to earlier. That is still going to happen.
And I do agree with you that I like the senior project. I just had that one concern.
Well, again, come back if it continues to be an issue, okay? I'll close the public hearing, and what's the pleasure of the council?
Can we take, do we need to take each of these 4 points individually, council, or can we take them all together?
We need to take them individually, especially because the third one's going to have, I think, an amendment to it.
Okay. All right. I just lost it on my.
It's right there.
My agenda here. Oh, so I move that we adopt the resolution adopting the mitigated negative declaration and mitigated monitoring plan as shown in attachment 2.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries 4-0.
Then I move we adopt the ordinance approving a rezone from RD10 to RD20 as shown in attachment 3.
Have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries 4-0.
Okay, so this is when we're amending, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I move we adopt the resolution approving the design review permit as amended for the 3 stop signs, or wherever that fits.
Can you amend the conditions of approval, so it would?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so in granting the density bonus and 3 concessions to allow the construction of a 110-unit senior affordable housing project based on the findings and conditions of approval as amended to.
In attachment 4, yeah.
Pardon me?
As amended in attachment 4.
In attachment 4, okay. That's what I move.
Second.
All right. So we have a motion and a second as amended to the last one that Casey read. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries 4-0.
And finally, I move that we approve a tree permit to allow the removal of several trees, subject to the findings and conditions of approval contained in attachment 4.
We have a motion. Do we have a
Second.
second? We have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries 4-0. Thank you all, and thanks for the public comment. That was item 14. Amy, next item.
Next item is public hearing, item number 15. The subject is the 2019 Edward Bryan Memorial Justice Assistance Grant funding, and a recommendation is to adopt a resolution accepting the 2019 JAG funds in accordance with state requirements.
Good morning. Good morning. Good afternoon, evening, Commander Russo.
Good evening, Commander Russo with the Citrus Heights Police Department. I'm here to ask for the council to accept the resolution, which would be accepting the Justice Assistance Grant, which is basically to acquire some additional safety equipment, which happens to be tasers to replace outdated tasers from the prior year. So this is just a acceptance of the money that has already been granted to the department, and I just asked for that.
Okay. I see several other officers in the back. We don't get a demonstration how the tasers work?
Not this evening, but we could schedule that for another day.
Just never seen one in action, but that's okay.
I don't want to.
All right, so questions or comments? This is a public hearing, so I will open. I have no speaker sheets. Anybody wishing to step forward who hasn't filled out one? Seeing nobody? Close the public hearing. What's the desire of the council?
I'd move the item.
Second.
We have a motion and we have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries 4-0. Thank you, Commander.
Thank you.
Amy, next item.
Next item is public hearing, item 16. The subject is second reading of an ordinance amending Chapter 38 of the Municipal Code relating to fire prevention and protection, and the recommendation is to adopt the ordinance amending Chapter 38.
And you're not going to read the whole code to us, are you?
Please.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. Greg Anderson, Chief Building Official.
On November 14th, council introduced for first reading the amendments to the 2019 Fire Code. And as mentioned on that date, the amendments to the 2019 Fire Code were basically, the majority of those amendments were a carryover from the previously adopted 2016 Fire Code just about a year and a half ago. Along with the local amendments as required, the Sac Metro Fire did provide express findings, which are part of the proposed ordinance, and if approved by council, those findings will be filed with the California Building Standards Commission along with the HCD. So at this time, staff recommends move forward with the public hearing.
Quick question. So we approve it, is it a 30-day wait before it goes into effect?
Correct.
And if I'm a resident and I have a project in flight, these would not apply, or would they apply if I haven't had my permit signed off?
It would be the same as the other building standards. If your application is submitted under the 2016 standards, they will apply through the duration of that project.
All right. So new projects after 30 days apply. If I have a project in flight today,
correct.
It doesn't. All right. Public hearing, I will go ahead. Actually, before I open that, any questions? Okay. I'll open the public hearing. I have no comment sheets. Anybody wish to speak before this item? All right, I'll close the public hearing. Pleasure of the council.
Move the item.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries 4-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Anderson, thank you for Sac Metro to be here, but obviously everybody trusts you, so nobody wants to ask you any questions. Next item, Amy, I know 17 we've already done, so if you could read 18, please.
Item 18, subject to city's contribution to employee health insurance benefit for unrepresented employees, and the recommendation is to adopt a resolution adopting modifications to the compensation policy guidelines.
Welcome, Rhonda and Monica. Sorry you had to wait for 2 hours. Had I realized, I might have bumped that one up too, but I apologize.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, council members, Monica Alejandez, Human Resources Manager, and Rhonda Rivera, Assistant City Manager. Item number 18 of the council agenda is staff's recommendation to increase the city's contribution to employee health insurance benefits for unrepresented employees. Staff recommends the City Council adopt a resolution adopting modifications to the compensation policy guidelines as follows. $100 per month increase to the city's health contribution levels for unrepresented employees, including classifications in the executive management broadband, effective with the January 2020 health premiums as follows. For level 1 employee only, $700 moves to $800. Employee plus 1 from $1,200 to $1,300. Employee plus 2 or more, $1,500 to $1,600, and then employees with unused medical receive $600. There will be no change to that one. There will not be an addition $100 to their benefit. Contributions for benefit eligible part-time employees will be prorated on an assigned benefit tier at either 50% or 75% in accordance with the current policy. The estimated fiscal impact associated with this recommendation is $35,000. There are sufficient salary savings due to position vacancies to offset the impact for fiscal year 2019-2020. So therefore, there's no budget adjustment required for this fiscal year. Consistent with the Government Code Section 54953C3, the legislative body shall orally state a summary of the recommended action on salaries, salary schedules, and fringe benefits for executive managers. The following statement shall be read orally. Classifications in the executive management broadband are eligible for a city health contribution consistent with the level offered to other non-represented employees. Employee only would be $800, employee plus 1, $1,300, employee plus 2 or more is $1,600. Employees for whom the city does not pay health insurance due to qualified alternative coverage will receive unused medical payments in the amount of $600 per month. Therefore, there is no change to these employees. We are available for any questions from council.
So part of the reason we're doing this for the unrepresented employees is because as a negotiating body, y'all talked to the association from the CHPD, and that was agreed to. So as, what we normally do is we try to keep everybody on the same course of action. Is that correct?
Correct. So within the compensation policy, the amendment that you see there, there is some language that states that this compensation policy guidelines applies to city employees unless it's specifically addressed in a memorandum of coverage to
Okay.
change.
Thank you. Questions or concerns from the council?
I move the item.
We have a motion?
Second.
We have a second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries 4-0. Thank you, ladies, and I
Thank you.
apologize we kept you so late. I don't want to take your job, Amy. And what's next, Amy?
Department report number 19. The subject is winter sanctuary intake and exit process review.
Welcome, gentlemen.
One second here. Okay. Plug that in.
Uh-oh, getting backup help over
If
here.
we can get to my computer.
Did someone take the bait?
They did, they did. Very good. All right.
Darn technology.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. I'm Lieutenant Chad Morris with the Citrus Heights Police Department. Tonight I have with me Sergeant James Evans of the Citrus Heights Police Department. And we're here on behalf of Chief Ron Lawrence to report back to you on one of our city strategic plan goals related to the winter sanctuary. More specifically related to the ingress-egress concerns of some of our community members in years past. At this point, I'm going to turn it over to Sergeant James Evans to give you a more detailed, in-depth view of some of our solutions we've come up with to mitigate some of these community concerns.
Thank you. Okay, so for those of you that don't know winter sanctuary, I'm sure most everybody in here does, but basically it's cold out there and it's wet. January, February are extremely hazardous for people that have to sleep outside. So we have a homeless population that this is an opportunity for them to have a safe, dry place where they can get some food. Through our HEART members, the Homeless Assistance Resource Team, just a bunch of dedicated individuals in our city that want to help out the homeless problem. Through their help and many members of our congregations and our churches, we're able to provide a safe place for these homeless citizens to sleep, okay? In addition to that, we're able to concentrate our resources. We have our most success with being able to get people out of homelessness through our winter sanctuary. So 20 to 25 people a night that we're able to help on a consistent basis for the cold winter months, so. Couple of quick things. 4 years in operation so far. We're going to be doing this for 9 weeks. 6 of the 9 churches located in Citrus Heights. And in 4 years of operation, we've never had a police call to any one of our sanctuary locations. So far, so good. Okay, next slide. So prior to the launch of the winter sanctuary, myself, Tony Morgan, our homeless navigator, who's in-house, and actually Irene from HEART, we're going to be, and another member from my team, we're going to be going around door to door to all the neighbors and handing them out, giving them a flyer and letting them know our procedures. And if they have any questions or issues, and if they need direct contact, they will have a direct number to my office if they have any concerns or problems. If anything arises, and then we can work on that and take care of it. So intake procedures. Originally, as Lieutenant Morris was talking about, at the time, about 30 prospective guests would show up, and they would show up on the church parking lot, and they would overflow into the streets. So for this year, we're going to have the intake, initially, the check-in in Rush Park so away from the neighborhood in a larger parking lot. And then they're going to be staggered across to the church to be checked in, property, onto the bus. So for those of you that don't know, they get onto a bus and then they go to a host church, and that church rotates every week. So guests will be escorted across the street, staggered, thereby reducing congregation of numerous people. Also, my POP officers and patrol will be patrolling the area during check-in and during evening hours following check-in to make sure there's no stragglers that are in the neighborhood. So again, this will avoid previous years' concerns reference this. So this is just a quick sign. That's Messiah Lutheran Church. That's our host church. Every single day, our homeless clients will check in here, get on a bus provided by Heart, and go to the host church. And then they come back in the morning, and this happens for 9 weeks. So this is the host church. So when guests are transported back, this normally occurs between 7 and 8 o'clock in the morning. Tony Morgan, Heart members will remain at the drop-off for at least 20 minutes after the last client has been checked out. And that will help alleviate, again, the congregation. And then also there's some trash complaints that trash was left behind in the streets and then going into the park. So that will help alleviate that. Additionally, thank you, GSD. I don't know if anybody from GSD is here. They provided us with several more receptacles to be able to put trash into, so we'll be real careful about that, and there'll be signage also for the trash, so hopefully that won't be a problem this year. Again, CHPD will be conducting extra patrols in the area following drop-off, and hopefully this will alleviate that issue. Additional considerations, one of the issues last year was it was first come, first serve basis. So they would tend to, if they didn't get in, they would wait for the next day. They would wait in the area for the next day. But now they're going to be getting a priority voucher that will give them first right to shelter for the next day. So it'll rotate around.
Oh, to the guests that did not get it?
That did not get it, yes. Okay. They will get priority for the next day, so they don't have to wait around. They come back the next day, they're in, okay? Shortened check-in, they found that they were able to get this done within a 45-minute time frame. It doesn't need to be longer. They're therefore shorter, quicker, less congregation. Additional area checks, Tony Morgan, church staff, Heart, will conduct periodic checks of the grounds in the neighborhood during the day, during the winter sanctuary. And then Sunrise Parks, they were also part of the, having an issue with the trash. So we'll have regular contact with them. We hope that our measures will alleviate the trash issue, but we'll be in constant contact with them, and if there's a problem, we'll address it. Post-winter sanctuary, with the community members and the neighbors that we knew that were having some issues with this, we'll just make sure to keep up constant contact, check in with them after winter sanctuary, not only during, but after. And if they have any feedback, concerns, problems, we'll incorporate that into our plan for the following year. And I want to say thank you, especially to Heart. Without them, this wouldn't happen. And to all of our local churches that also are going to be spending countless hours and a lot of manpower to make this happen. So special thanks to all of them. Any questions?
Questions for?
Just a comment. I want to thank you. You know, this is great follow-up and resolution to the issues that we faced this past year. So I'm excited to see how this works. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Council.
Yeah, it's nice to see the compassion. I mean, you know, legally homelessness isn't a crime, but we all know there are ancillary things that come with it that upset the public. So this is a service, and quite frankly, without the faith-based community stepping in and Heart, it wouldn't be happening. And, you know, anybody who's been caught out in the rain before, it's not a good experience, let alone being out there all night. So, you know, it's a good thing to do. It's temporary, and, you know, I think we're taking all the precautions and measures we need so that when folks are done, you know, come back the next morning, that they're not just, you know, camping out in the parking lot or going over to the park or anything. I mean, you know, we're doing what we can, but it is a compassionate thing that I think we all agree we need to do during the winter months. So thank you for taking the extra effort and, you know, the steps to address any questions and concerns that have come up over the years. I'd love to hear a report back after the sanctuary, you know, closes as to, you know, how it went and if, you know, there were any potential problems that we didn't foresee and, you know, that you'll be looking at them in the future. So.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Have a good night. Amy, next item.
Next item is city manager items.
Yes, good evening, Mayor and members of the council. I wanted to take a couple of minutes to highlight some good work that's been occurring on our streets going into the holiday season here. I've heard from a couple of the council members recently on the topic of striping. So we have, an impressive program and some work going on right now, along with some signal synchronization. So we're going to just take a minute, and I've asked the city engineer just to highlight some things that are happening as we go into the holiday season.
Mayor and council members, just wanted to point out some good works that I think have happened this past week. First off, we've been working on this for a little while, and finally we're able to get our contractor in here to schedule. And so they came out this week and redid the long line striping on Greenback Lane, basically from the Dewey Van Maren intersection to Birdcage. The other segments were done more recently. You can see we've got some street view pics that we've taken before, and then you can see this is right out in front of the Dignity Health office building. And you can see in the upper left view, there is no lane stripe between the number 2 and 3 lanes at all. I mean, they've just gone. So the lower stripe, the lower picture was taken this afternoon showing where we're at today. Similarly, this is looking eastbound over at the San Juan intersection, and you can see very minimal striping of it left on the street in the upper picture, and the lower picture shows the new fog line plus the new skip lines. And this is over closer to Birdcage at the east end of the project where we started, a very similar approach. The goal of this whole effort was going into the rainy season, our longer nights for the next month or two. As you well know, when the ground is wet, visibility is very difficult, the glare off the street, and providing the upgraded striping now is a good thing as we go through the winter months for safety in general. They will be coming back. The weather got wet again. Wasn't originally shown that way on the weather report on Monday, but it changed. So we got what we could done. We are working on some other streets around the area. Portions of Dewey and Van Maren will get some additional striping as well to improve safety on those corridors as well. Just wanted to point that out to you. The other item that the city manager brought up, we recently, Leslie, our city traffic engineer, Leslie Bloomquist, has been working for several months with a consultant to completely reevaluate the coordinated timing on Greenback Lane. And I am happy to report that over the last 3 days, that timing was input into our operations system, and it is actually initial observations through our engineering team, as well as just some other drivers. We've got some good throughput movement, and the goal, again, is we're looking at reduced queuing at intersections, just smoother movement through the corridor, all the way down to, by reducing delays and less time standing still, we actually improve greenhouse gases and gas consumption.
So does the poem apply? That I wrote for Dennis Dunn about shooting Greenback where you could hit all the lights green?
I think the efforts that Leslie has put in have built upon what Dennis did a number of years ago. I think we probably even got a better program now.
Yeah, I doubt your poem had any effect on it whatsoever.
Hey.
Thank you, Stu. I mean, engineering doesn't get a lot of pat on the backs, but to yourself, to Leslie, I had a couple of complaints recently, and I have to admit, I turned one of them in, and it was like a little mini investigation, how you guys found out what was affecting the queuing on a particular street, and I was amazed that that y'all could figure it out. So keep up the good work. Appreciate all that you do.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Next item is items requested by council members or any future agenda items.
We do not want to hear your poem.
Just want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and Happy
Yes.
Holidays. And
Happy
be
holidays.
safe out there.
Whatever you celebrate, enjoy, be safe, and continue smiling and waving in the traffic for the next couple of weeks, because I know as soon as the first comes around, you're all going to go back to what you were doing before. It's no longer the holiday season, so you don't have to be nice in traffic anymore, but I really appreciate it this time of the year where people are actually really nice when they're driving, so. Thank you, and with that, the meeting is over.